Our topic today is recruiting, and as you notice on your handout today, the highest form of flattery is to be recruited. And we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But before we do, I want to talk with each of you in this room today about the gift of Mary Kay. I don't think that any of us in this room had any idea what would be inside our showcase. We all had a thought. We thought we knew what we were buying when we bought the showcase. And it was presented to us as a gift. But when we opened it and we used it, we found a lot of other gifts. And so today I have asked my top 10 directors to work with me, and we are going to show you our gifts that were inside our showcase. When I received my showcase, it was 1982. And I'll never forget it. In fact, many of you who have seen me do my career conference speech a couple of years ago, I still have the box that my showcase came in. And I remember it was a turning point day. I remember where I was standing in the house when the man brought it to the door, and I remember opening it. Now, what I thought was in my gift, was a chance to win some of those little pins that look like 4-H pins that I saw those girls winning at the meeting. And what I thought was in my showcase was some of those ribbons that some of those ladies were winning that reminded me of the cows I showed at the county fair. Those were the same kind of ribbons we used to win. They were big rosettes. And that's what I thought was in my showcase, a chance to be somebody. But what I found when I opened my box is very difficult for me to even tell you. I would be a different person today if it wasn't for the box, if it wasn't for the gift. I don't know who I would be. I knew who I was in 1982. I don't imagine for one moment that I would have really grown that much. I was already at the top of my pay scale in education, and nobody was really challenging me to become more. So what I found in my box that I didn't know was there was enormous amounts of personal growth. Let's give our top 10 sales directors a round of applause. I would like for Brenda Howe, Kim Swearing, and Vicki O'Bannon to come back to the edge of the stage, if you would, please. When I joined Mary Kay in 1982, I certainly did not bargain for sharing this opportunity. I didn't have a vision for that. I was really pretty much all about myself. And for the most part, most of my very first team members actually came to me. I didn't go to them. I remember my very first recruit. She came from my very first class that actually held. It's a story I can't put on tape, but my little table down here in front got to hear the full-blown version last night at our Christmas party. There were illegal things going on at that class, but anyway, I'll never forget that she was my very first recruit. She had tattoos in 1982. No one had tattoos in 1982. I remember she held her very first skincare class, and she called me and told me she was quitting. And I remember standing, it was a turning point day. I remember where I was standing in my office talking on the phone, and I remember her sharing with me that she was quitting. And I said, why? Because I love my Mary Kay, and I would never have ever thought about quitting. And she said, because this is a lot like work. And I really didn't know how to answer that, except it is. It's like effort. You have to have effort to do this. My second recruit actually was one of my students in my classroom, and she also pretty much came to me. She was going to sell Avon or something, and I said, I'm doing this Mary Kay thing, and that's about as much information as I gave her. And she said, well, I might be interested in doing that with you. And Lucinda went as my director and helped me do the interview. Actually, I wasn't even present. She did the interview, and she recruited her. And so then I had 2 recruits. And so all during that, I had no idea what I was doing. It was not my goal. And so if you are relatively new to Mary Kay, or maybe you're a seasoned consultant and you really don't see the vision of yourself building a team, that is okay. There is a place for everyone in Mary Kay. There is a place for the 80% of our company that never attends a meeting. There is a place for the 80% that just order to get their products at cost and sell to their mother. There is a place for everyone in Mary Kay. Our trainings are directed at the 20%, obviously, who do want something from Mary Kay. Now, you may be in this room thinking, but I don't know that I want to be a leader. I don't know if I want the responsibility of leadership. And that is what your director is for. You know, there's a lot of women in your life that would benefit from being in this circle. And you don't have to have the responsibility of the sales meetings or the trainings or any of that stuff if you don't want. You can simply continue to recruit and build your commissioned base and allow your director to train and work with them. So don't be caught up in, am I ready for the responsibility? You will know when you're ready, and I won't need to tell you that you're ready. But that also says to you that you should not hold back from recruiting people to give them an opportunity for this business. I have 3 ladies on stage with me for a reason. Because you have no way of knowing who is going to take you to the next person. Right now, if I could look like a magic genie inside your all's profile box, inside the cards of the women you facialed, I can see your national area. You already have the beginnings of your national area. If you've done 10 facials, you are already there. Because I would not have had any way of knowing that when I went to Cross Plains, Indiana, step up here, Kim, when I went to Cross Plains, Indiana 15 years ago, and all I did was return a phone call from a woman who wanted some Mary Kay. And I drove to her home and facialed her and her daughter. Now, that woman's name is Donna, and Donna is no longer in Mary Kay. See, you have no way of knowing. You can't play God. You can't play God. God already has it all figured out. Donna wasn't supposed to stay in Mary Kay. Donna was supposed to come into Mary Kay to recruit Kim. I see that now 15 years later. But Donna didn't stay very long, but she invited Kim to her business debut, and I remember meeting Kim. But because I met Kim at that one appointment, we now have 14 sales directors in the Tupin National area. And if you're part of that lineage, you know who you are. Would you stand up and be recognized in this room? That would be all of Sheila's directors and Jennifer's directors and Sir Pell's directors, Joni's directors. 14 sales directors came from one little appointment. But you know what? You all have done the same little appointment. You just have to believe that there's something more there. Then I remember my very first summer in Mary Kay in 1982. One of my teacher friends, her name was Sandy, and she volunteered to have one of those first parties for me. And many of you have been to a program I've just started recently in which I show you my date books from 1982, and her appointment was on Sunday, July the 12th. And I went to her house and sold $72 and did not get one booking. But Sandy recruited. And as a result of her recruiting, I met, through her, Lodema Dillon. Lodema, you should be up here as well. I'm so sorry. Where is Lodema? Come on up here, Lodema. Through that one appointment, I met Lodema Dillon and Vicki O'Bannon. Come on up here, Vicki, you and Lodema. And through this line, through that one little skincare class that didn't have any bookings, and it has only $72 in sales, from that one appointment, when you play that out over 21 years, we have 6 beautiful sales directors from that line. And as you all know, Vicki is a top director not only in our area, but also in the nation, and has been honored on many multiple trips around the world. And Lodema, how many cars have you earned in Mary Kay? 10 different cars, Lodema. And guess what? The woman who recruited Lodema didn't even want to recruit her. She brought her to an event and said, pick somebody and they can have you. Isn't that true? That is true. The woman was quitting Mary Kay, but Lodema called her because some consultant at a fair booth facialed Lodema, and then when that consultant found out Lodema had a consultant, she sent her back to that girl. And that girl happened to be in my unit, and that girl was smart enough to say, well, come to this event that they do, and you can pick somebody in the room to recruit under. Okay? You guys, do you understand what I'm saying right now? All right? Sometimes it's not about you. So many times we're all caught up in us, aren't we? I'm not good enough to recruit somebody, or I don't know whether I should recruit anybody. What if they were to join and they not like it? Oh, for crying out loud. I've went to enough movies. Some of you have had enough bad dates with people you don't like. You just quit, don't you? All right. Yeah, Vicki hasn't yet. All right. Vicki's the one that always asks for referrals at her classes for a good date. It's worth $25 in free Mary Kay. All right. Brenda? In the summer of 1988, I went to London, Kentucky, and did an appointment with a girl named Pam. Now, Pam recruited, and even though Pam also did not stay in Mary Kay but a few years, we had a high hostess contest, just like our What Women Want contest. And our number one hostess that day in London, Kentucky, was this very terrified of coming to the front of the room hostess named Brenda Howe. And Brenda was our number one hostess. I remember, I have a picture of you standing there and me giving you something. Okay? That was, I don't know, many years ago. And from that one appointment with Pam, we also have 14 more of our sales directors. If you're part of Brenda's lineage, would you please stand up and let's give these directors, all the directors in that line. It is hard to see up here. Yes, it is. It's okay. Brenda is such an eye. But do you understand? All right? Do you understand? Was Pam harmed by joining Mary Kay? Was Donna harmed by joining Mary Kay? They got what they wanted from Mary Kay, and then they went on about their life. But in the process, they were kind enough to share the opportunity with someone before they left. And look at the changed lives as a result of that decision. Thank you all. Let's give those ladies a round of applause. I believe that recruiting is just, again, one of our avenues of income. But the difference between the avenue of income of recruiting and the avenue of income of selling is that it continues to pay you after the work is done. We all know that when we sell the product or do a facial or do a class, that the woman uses the product, she washes it down the drain every night. We love that about what we do. And then she calls us and reorders more product, doesn't she? And we get paid on that facial again and again and again. I have customers I've had for 20 years. They keep washing my stuff down the drain and keep ordering more. And I really don't have to put a whole lot of effort, and neither do you, in continually making money from that facial. But the company created a way for us to give women an opportunity to do what we do. And if we taught them to do what we did, then the company would pay us. You know, how many doctors out there in the world do you think would absolutely love it if there was a company that if they could teach another person to be a doctor and then they got a commission on whatever that person did? Do you think they would be excited? Do you think if the nearest school teacher to you could actually get paid on the success of other school teachers that she trained, that we would have better school teachers? Do you think that we would have better nurses if you had to train other nurses and get paid on whether those nurses were successful? Of course you would. So Mary Kay was very, very smart. You all know that we do not get paid commission if our people are not successful, and if our people quit and send their product back, all the commission goes back to the company. So it doesn't behoove you to even think about offering the opportunity. You're not going to benefit from the opportunity if the people you recruit are not successful. And so that is why we're talked about at every university around the nation as being the best marketing plan. It's because of that point right there. Now, when you think about recruiting, a lot of people for the very first time think this thought. Well, I don't want to recruit someone because if I sell them the product, I make 50%. And that's really, really good. And if I recruit them, I only make 4%. That's true. You're making a major income reduction there. You're going from 50% to 4%. But you have to get past the pennies to see the dollars. Because we all know, how many customers can you truly even keep up with? I honestly believe that no one in this audience should have over a couple hundred customers. And if you do, there's something really wrong here. Because my motto all the time that I was building my customers was I'm going to establish customers, give them away. Establish customers, give them away. Establish customers, give them away. In fact, it was my goal a few years ago to give every one of my customers away. And believe it or not, I still have 20. They just won't go away. I've tried to give them away, but they won't go away. And how did I give them away? I gave them away to the person I recruited in their family, the person I recruited from their neighborhood, so to speak. I learned to reproduce myself because I knew I could only do 2 or 3 appointments a week. I didn't have more time in my life, and neither do you. I didn't have enough time to sell to 500 or 600 people. I couldn't possibly do a very good job. If your customer base is above 200, you are not doing a good job servicing your customers. Probably if your customer base is over 100, you can't do a very good job servicing your customers. I challenge you to have 50 or 60 really, really good customers and give the rest of them away to your recruits, because that is our mental attitude that we need with recruiting. Now, when I am out there establishing customers, I'm establishing them in groups of families and friends, and then I'm going to find that one person in that group that is going to take care of them and then do classes from that particular group. Now, because we're all limited by time and energy, it is very, very important that you develop this attitude about recruiting. And you know what? I may have some sort of crisis going on in my life, and I can't do my appointments this week, but my team members are not having crisis, and they can do business, and the company is going to pay me and you a commission based on the efforts of those people. And so if you learn to reproduce yourself, then you have a very lucrative form of income. Now, I believe with all my heart and soul that you draw people to you, that you don't go chasing them. You don't pursue them, so to speak. I love the fact that Barbara, when she spoke this morning, talked about if what you're doing is running around to a mall, passing out business cards, telling people they have pretty eyes, then you have totally missed the boat of Mary Kay. This is all about relationships. And Barbara, thank you so much for bringing that point to all of us today, that this is about relationships. And I learned early on, because people would ask me at my classes, how do you do this? Do you make any money at this? Do you have fun doing this? Because I was having fun, the energy from my body was positive, and I loved this, and everywhere people would say, this looks like fun. And so I knew that I was drawing people to me instead of having to chase them. And so then I had to learn the art of interviewing and recruiting. But a lot of people recruit a lot of people simply because they are enthusiastic and charismatic. And that is good until you have a bad day, isn't it? Now, when you have a bad day, your enthusiasm takes a dive, and so does your charisma. And then if you haven't learned the skill of recruiting, then you're really in trouble. For those of you in here with a lot of I in your personality, many of you are skating along on charisma and enthusiasm. And I get scared for you, and I'm a high I. I was a very high I when I came into Mary Kay. I get scared for you that you are living on enthusiasm and charisma, and if the day ever comes when push comes to shove and you're not having such a good week or a year, that you own the skill. And so that's why we put these pace setters together. That's why we have this program, is so that I can give you the skill of doing it even when you're having a bad day. Now, I have given you a number of things in your notebook that we're going to work on today. The first handout that I would like for you to turn to is the value of one. Now, all of these figures on your handout, the value of one, is based on a director commission of 26%. When you first have your first 4 team members, you're paid 4% commission. I think everyone knows that. And then when you move up to 5 recruits, you're paid 9% commission. And then when you have 5 recruits who order in the same month, you move up to 13% commission. And so the most commission that you can earn as a consultant is 13%. However, when you become a sales director, you not only make 13% commission on your personal team members, but you make 13% on everyone in your organization, whether you recruited them or they're 15 lines deep. It doesn't matter. And so this handout is totally dependent on that number of 26% commission. But I want to show you the value of one person. One customer who purchases an average of $450 a year, which is an average amount of a good Mary Kay customer, you earn $225 in commission. However, with one personal team member who orders $2,400 a year, which is an average of $200 a month, you earn $624 in commission as a sales director with a personal recruit of 26%. So please understand, I'm working with the figure of 26%. When you have one personal team member who orders $7,800 a year, which is an average of $650 per month, your commission is $2,028. But when you have a personal team member who does the National Court of Sales, which is an order of 18,000 wholesale a year, your commission is $4,680. And so that's why it is very important that you not look at the 4% commission that you earn when you first start recruiting and compare it to the 50% commission that you earn when she is buying your product. All right? Now, keep in mind that your customers and your unit is your immediate source of income. So when the electric bill comes due or the mortgage bill comes due or you want to take a family vacation, you look to your customers and your unit to provide that income. But let's take it a step further. When one first-line director, now let me explain this. When you become a sales director and someone in your organization debuts from your group, they are your first line, all right? When one first-line director produces an average of $8,000 a month, as a senior director, that senior director will make between $38.40 and $57.60 in commission just from having a baby in Mary Kay, just from having an offspring. And that's every year. As a national sales director, when I debut a first line who does $18,000 a month for 1 year, I make $17,000 in commission. You know, ask me why I have all these incentives in place for my directors to reach $18,000, because there's a reason. It's a huge commission at that level. As an NSD, when one of my first line debuts and becomes a national, when I debut a director, and so I'll look down here at these first two rows, and when each of these ladies on this first two row becomes a director, I get paid $5,000 bonus. That's why I love them so much. No. There's a reason I work so hard. There's a reason I work with them to help them develop their leadership skills. $5,000 bonus plus a $1,000 bonus every year until either her or I retires. And so for an example of 20 years, on just somebody debuting, just from the bonuses alone, you guys, not the commission, just the bonuses is $25,000. And if that same offspring produces $10,000 a month over 20 years at 7% commission, add that to the bonus, and just from me having one offspring director over the next 20 years, I will make $193,000. Now, I need to ask you, who have you overlooked? Who have you not recruited? Because some will and some won't, but we need to offer the opportunity to everyone and then let her decide whether it's for her. And to be quite honest, I don't think anybody can decide whether Mary Kay is for them until they try it. Until they actually come through the training, they really can't try it. Now I want you I want you to flip over to recruiting strong women and teaching other women to do the same. George W. recruited his cabinet. Now, if you want to think about a hard job, let's think about that. Can you imagine being the President of the United States and going out to recruit your cabinet? Here's how that dialogue would sound. Come, be my Secretary of State. Take a major pay cut from whatever it is that you're currently doing with your life. Then let's let the media slaughter you and your family every single day in the headlines. And after we slaughter you and destroy your reputation, then you can go back and try to make a living after I get done in the next 4 years. Talk about a hard sell. That's a hard sell. Michael Jordan was recruited. When you were in basketball, what do they send out to the opposing team's games? They send out scouts, don't they? Scouts are looking for recruits. See, recruiting is the highest form of flattery. Tom Watley, our president, was recruited. There's headhunters. Haven't you ever heard of these people that go around and steal CEOs and top executives from other companies? They are recruiting for their company. About 10 years ago, I developed a different dialogue as a result of something that someone said to me at a business debut. I was in a home in Indianapolis, and it was a very large business debut, very professional women, and I'm going around the room, as I always do at a business debut, and tell me a little bit about yourself, tell me a little bit about yourself, and the lady said, I am a recruiter for the #1 pharmaceutical company in the United States, Eli Lilly. And she said it, and her shoulders went back, and her chin went up, and afterwards I said, I want to thank you, because you totally created a turning point in my brain about how I think about recruiting. So when someone asks me what I do, from that day forward, I've said, I'm a recruiter for the #1 makeup company in the United States, Mary Kay. And so that needs to be your approach. I am a recruiter for the #1 makeup company, and I'm looking for the sharpest women that are out there in America to work for the very best company. Make no mistake, everyone who is a leader recruits. Being recruited is the highest form of flattery. We are long past the notion of trying to get people under us. I think when I hear someone use that kind of verbiage, I think, I'm so sad for you, because if that's what you think you're doing, then you are so misled into the whole concept. No wonder no one wants to recruit with you. Or worse yet, you're trying to get someone to join Mary Kay. Many of you have heard the analogy that I make when I hear people say, I'm trying to get her to come to a meeting. Well, when I hear you use the words trying, I imagine that she's in her driveway and her high heels are on and you're dragging her through the gravels. And you're dragging her down the driveway and you're trying to shove her into the back seat of your car because
That's what it sounds like, and that's what it feels like. And so we don't want to try to get anyone. I'm going to offer you the opportunity. I'm going to tell you about the opportunity. I'm going to invite you to work with me. And then if you choose not to, that's okay. You can still be my friend. There's no trying involved in this. I want you to, we are also looking for women who need Mary Kay, but we are looking mainly for women that Mary Kay needs. So let me share some thoughts with you. Number one, I want you to look for emotionally centered women. Women who, no matter what is happening around them, work anyway. They truly know how to milk the cows. Women who are not emotionally centered demand lots of your time, and you see little or no return on your money. Do you all know what that means? Do you all know a woman who is not emotionally centered in your life? They are draining, absolutely draining. And even though they may need what we offer, you have to be very careful to continue to attract women who are that needy, because they will wear you out. They will wear you out. I have been blessed with several of those women in my life. Now, the way I learned to deal with that, because I even have some who are no longer even on my IBM. They went for 12 months without an order. They're not even on my paper, and they still think they're in Mary Kay. They still have a voice comm number. Honestly. Because I am the only good thing, honestly, positive thing in their life. And finally, a few years ago, I had to come to the conclusion that was my role with them was not to mentor them in business, but was to mentor them in a different arena of their life, either spiritually or as a woman. And so then I got okay with that. It would used to make me crazy when these people would contact me, and I'm like, please. And then I realized I had a different role, that there was a different purpose for her being in my life. And so once I accepted that, I was okay. But you want to look for emotionally centered women. You want to recruit a woman when something bad happens to her, she just keeps on working. Okay? She's got 42 irons in the fire, and she can still keep focused. You want the woman who's got 3 jobs and 12 kids. You want the woman who volunteers at church every other day. You want her because she knows how to get things done. Number 2, we want to look for women who have already been successful at something. You want women who have something to bring to the table. There are hundreds of thousands of women out there who have already been successful running offices and civic groups and church groups, or being just great moms or great homemakers. And it's great that Mary Kay can help women, but don't just look for women who are needy. Look for the women who are givers. You know,
now, let's talk just briefly here about the difference between selling our product and recruiting. Selling the product is pretty immediate. Would you all agree with that? Do you think that you could possibly on the way home meet a woman and sell her a product even on the way home that you didn't know right now? Does that happen to you when you run into people and they see your pen, they go, oh, Mary Kay, I'm out of, and you don't know her, but she bought a product from you, okay? So you don't have to have a lot of relationship to sell a product. Now, would you not agree that that relationship has to be a little bit stronger for her to trust you to do a facial? And that the relationship has to be even stronger for her to want to book a party with you. Would you agree with that? And so then we have to understand the nature of recruiting. The only people in the world who can recruit without having a relationship with you is a very high I. Now, when I am coming to your town, and I'm going to 10 towns in the next 4 weeks, and I'm coming there because I am a recruiter for the #1 makeup company in America, and I'm looking for sharp women who want to do what I do. And so, think this thought. When I come to your town and you have your precious hostesses all lined up there in a row to win the money on the money tree, the more information they have about Mary Kay, the easier it will be for them to make a yes decision. The only person I can help recruit, or your director can recruit for you on the spot, is a very high I. Everyone else has to be layered with information. So let's take a look at what that sheet looks like. First question I would ask you, if I was going to interview your prospects, and all these ladies on this first 2 rows, I'm going to be helping them in the next month interview their prospects. And they have worked with me long enough to know I'm going to ask them these questions. Does she use the product? You guys, I don't personally, Linda Tupin doesn't know how to recruit a woman who doesn't use our product. I don't know how you do that, except if she's a really high I.
or she could possibly be a very, very strong D and only buy into the opportunity. Okay? If she's a really strong enough D, she can buy into the opportunity. But you guys, at some point in the interview or right after the interview, if she doesn't use the product, then we run into what? An obstacle. Now, I personally only tried the product the night before I joined. But Lucinda knew that it was important that I didn't throw what objection at her in the interview. I don't know. I never used your product. I don't know what it feels like. I don't know if I could sell it because I've never used it. Do you know that through my last Pace Setters class, we learned how to overcome the objections before people gave them? Well, guess what we're going to do in the next 4 months together? Because, Gloria's going to come, and she's going to do part of the training. I'm going to do part of the training in February, and then we're all going to get back together in April. And it is going to be very much directed at how to overcome an objection before someone gives it to you. And then learning how to make their objection the reason that they would actually want to do this. And so I'm trying to avoid getting objections. And so if she uses the product, loves the product, then that's a good thing. So you would want her have her on the product. Now here's the other part of that equation. How long ago was it that she had her facial? How long ago did she actually see new products? Do you know that people recruit when they're closer to the product? Do you know that it is very difficult for your director or for me to recruit someone who had a facial 2 years ago? It's hard to get her excited about what we do because people recruit when they're close to the product. So as you're looking at the homework assignments and you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I've got to do all these homework assignments, that's why those classes are on there, because those classes bring people and put them right in front of you so that they're close to the product. And when they're close to the product, then magical things begin to happen. Notice the second thing on your layering sheet. Was she a hostess? Now let me tell you, the average woman, forget the personalities, sitting at a table, watching you go put it on, take it off, put it on, take it off, and walking out the door with $400, $300, $200. Forget personalities. She is looking at you going, I can do that. I can do that. That's why you don't want to make your presentation so complicated that the average person. Lucinda had to have a little talk with me because I really do, for a high I personality, Barbara, I also have a lot of C in my personality that's really hidden. And one of the things is if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it perfect. Okay, I spent my entire Christmas break getting this program together for you all. Okay, that's that C in my personality. But Lucinda pulled me aside the first few months that I was in her unit, and she said, you have got to start making mistakes. I said, what do you mean? She said, because people will look at you and think they can't do this if it's too perfect. And that made a lot of sense to me, and that really stuck with me. She said, forget the freshener. Put the products on in the wrong order, but quit trying to be perfect with it. So, the easiest people in the world for me to share this opportunity with are the women you have just done a class with. That's why I put all my energy into those 10 programs that I do every quarter called What Women Want. You are going to have the best people in your customer base there as hostesses, and that's the women I want to work with. That's the women you want to work with. All right? The third column says preferred hostess. The preferred hostess is someone who's a repeat hostess. When you start knowing where the silverware is and iced tea and stuff is in the drawers and in the cabinets, you've got a preferred hostess because you've been to her house so many times. And then does she have a recruiting packet like Barbara showed you this morning? Does she have a tape or a CD? Has she been to a guest event? Has she actually had a formal interview? Now, does every single person have to have a check mark in every one of those boxes? No. In fact, very few of you in this room, when you were recruited, had a check mark in all of those boxes, right? But the more checks you have, the more layering they have, the easier it is for them to make an intelligent decision. So one of the things that you will go home from here today to do is to take your layering sheet out of the sheet protector and begin to work it. Your director will probably ask to see it. She will want to see your prospects, and then she will want to see what layers. Because many times before I do any of my interviewing with this group down here, I may send them out to go facial her again, book her again, give her something before I step in. Because if I step in too soon, if your director steps in too soon, she becomes a layer. I want the director to be the final deal. The director should be the person who seals the deal. And so your director may actually send you back out to do something else with her before she does it. And so just be aware of that. Now I want you to turn to your 30-15-5 sheet. Now, one of your homework assignments is to do 8 interviews. The greatest way to ensure that you have 8 interviews is to make a list of the 30 nicest people you know. You know, you always hear me say at my guest events, I'm always kidding with the audience, we only recruit nice people in Mary Kay. We don't recruit the people we don't like. Well, I'm not kidding. Tell you a story. I was a relatively new consultant. It was one of the few Saturday morning classes I ever conducted. It was a turning point day. I remember exactly where I was in New Washington, Indiana. I remember what the ladies' house looked like. And there was a heckler at that class that I had not seen before. I had seen hecklers, but not like this. She was determined to make my life miserable. And everything I said, she had a better answer. So quite flippantly, at the end of the class, when I was doing my one-on-one consultation, I said, you know what, you know so much about this. You should do it. I was kidding. She joined. I was never so glad to see someone quit in my whole life. So, you guys, only ask the nice people. I always say you would want to sleep with them in a hotel room. Okay? You need to like them well enough that you would share a hotel room at career conference or seminar. I'm not kidding about that stuff. Mary Kay used to say, recruit people that you'd be proud to bring to her and say, Mary Kay, this is the woman I'm sharing this opportunity with because she has the integrity and the honor and the character that I think is important. So just be aware of that. So you make 30. You ask 30 people to do a practice interview. Always treat them to blusher or lipstick color or something to entice them. We always work for the little carrot. Even my directors, I'll say, we're going to do this. And my directors will go, what do we get for it? Out of the 30, 15 will agree. And out of 15, 5 people will say yes to the opportunity. Now, what if you only go out here and you interview 5? You'll get 1. You have to learn your numbers. You have to learn your numbers. All right? Does that mean that the other 10 people will never recruit? No, it just may not be their time. That may be the person that says, it was the wrong time in my life, or, she asked me 4 times to the guest event. She asked me 4 times to do this. It was the 4th time. Just because they don't say yes now, how many of you right now you've picked up somebody else's customer because they quit? Somebody did the work and you just kind of waltzed in and took the customer because somebody else already did the work. Guess what? It happens with recruiting too, doesn't it? How many of you ever recruited somebody else already did all the work on? Somebody did the work and then they dropped the ball and they left the company or they never did anything. So it's important that you understand your numbers. Now, the most important piece of paper that I'm working with you today is your interview sheet. And it was handed to you separately, so hopefully everybody got that. One of the things that we're going to work on, obviously, the most important thing we're going to work on in the next few months is how to share our opportunity. Just like when you were a new consultant and you went through new consultant boot camp, someone taught you on this page you say this, and on this page you say that, and on this page you do this, and you learned how to do a skincare class because you memorized a procedure. Now, some of you have tried your own way, and you guys, if you just keep trying to do it your way, you're doing it the hardest way possible. If you just follow the book, if you just do the steps that Mary Kay told us to do, you'll save yourself years. And so there is actually a step-by-step process that you interview people. Now, you're going to actually take this sheet home and you're actually going to make some copies of it because when you're doing your interviews, you're going to fill this out. And so I'm going to talk with you about this. This page is already posted on my website. So if you want to write on this and then go out to my website and download a clean one, or if you want to take notes over to the side, it's totally up to you. But an interview has a certain step-by-step procedure, just like your skincare class. Just like the layering of our products, we use our cleanser and then we use our moisturizer. And after we use our moisturizer, we use our foundation. Well, those are steps, and interviewing is no different. Also, Lodema, I'll pick on Lodema. I just looked at her and thought this thought for just a second ago. Where's Lodema at? Lodema, I think until you won your second or third car, you told everybody you were practicing. Do you still tell them you're practicing? Not quite as much? So I'm giving everybody in here permission that you're just practicing. Remember how you practiced on people's face? You practiced doing your presentation. You practiced at your facials. You're going to practice on your interviewing. So you're just practicing. And let me tell you something wonderful about the word practicing. If I'm going to interview Teresa, and I'm telling her I'm just practicing, which I am, what does that do to her? Takes the pressure away, doesn't it? Because I'm just practicing. And I am just practicing. But how many of you in this room were recruited from somebody practicing? Look at this. Look how many hands are in the air. Because sometimes when you're practicing, they hear something they've never heard before. Do you know a lot of your customers out there, they're like making a decision whether they want to be in Mary Kay, and they don't even know what they're making a decision about because nobody's ever told them the information. Okay, please notice that your interview has 5 steps. First of all, in the interview, I'm going to ask you to tell me a little bit about yourself so I can get to know you better. Voila, all the information Barbara gave us this morning. I'm going to find out about her before I go anywhere else, right? I will share with you, I am thinking right now about some interviews I did early in my career. I honestly don't even know how I got here, you guys, because I didn't know any of this stuff. And because I'm a high I, what was I always telling people? All about the prizes, all about seminar, all about what gown I was going to wear at seminar. I remember so many interviews that people left and said, no, I'm not interested. And I'm thinking, don't you like me? Why don't you want to do this? Because this is so much fun. Because I didn't understand that I hadn't even found out anything about them. It was all about me. And you guys, if it's all about you, the only person who cares is you. So, my friend Jan Thetford always says, people are so worried about what people think. She's got a clue for you. They ain't thinking about you. People are only thinking about themselves. All right, so first step in an interview, and we're not going to do an interview here for you because there's no need to, because you don't have to actually see a facial to understand how to do a facial. But your director is going to do some practice interviews with you. And remember, I told you the director will do one, and then the director will determine whether she wants to do more with you, okay? Or maybe you as a consultant say, I just need to see more. And your director will do that with you, okay? So we're just going to get the concept here. So we're going to find out about them, and we're going to ask those 4 questions that Barbara taught us. What are the 4 questions? Tell me about yourself. What do you do in your spare time? What do you need? And what do you value? Okay, and from that, we can pretty much decide a personality. What did you call it? It's not behavior. That sounds so psychological. Okay. Step 2 is I'm going to tell you about me. Now, what's real important here? What do you tell her about you? Something that would be complementary to her personality. Now, let's say that you're sitting there and the woman you're interviewing has children and you're not married. That's why you have all these Mary Kay girlfriends, don't you? That's why you have all these directors that you get to know their story. You don't always tell your story. You tell someone else's story. Does that make sense? So you can say, you know what? My friend in Mary Kay, she's got 3 kids. And so then you have, again, a common place that you can go to. Maybe you have children and you're interviewing someone who's single. Then you need to know who in your unit is single, what directors are single, so that you can relate to that part. Hang on a minute. My brain can only hold so many things at one time, and I'm thinking a new thought. Then I forgot my new thought. What was my other thought? Oh, let me just say it so I don't have to write it down. You know something I learned early on? And Mary Kay said this. She said, you're not selling your opportunity. You're not selling the Linda Tupin opportunity. You're not selling the Lisa Clark opportunity. You're not selling them the Stacy Joe Kachlik opportunity. You're selling them the Mary Kay opportunity. It's not about you. It's not about what you've done with the business. It's not what you have thought, all the mistakes you've made with the business. It's not whether or not you have won a diamond ring in the business. You're not selling you. You're selling the Mary Kay opportunity, which is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt in 40 years to work. That's what you're selling. You're not selling your opportunity. Okay, so you're going to talk about yourself. And the rule of thumb here is half the time. She talks 5 minutes, you talk 2 minutes. She talks 10 minutes, you talk 5 minutes. Half the amount of time, because who's this about? Her. Okay. Then, you want to share some facts about our career. We'll come to that in just a second. Then I'm going to answer any questions you have. And number 5, because we've done number 1 through 4, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to work with me. Now, when the interview starts, you actually sit there and say to the person, Joey, today I'm going to ask you to tell me a little bit about yourself. Then I'm going to tell you about myself. Then I'm going to tell you some facts about the company. And then I'm going to ask you if you have any questions. And when we're done with all that, I'm going to ask you if you want to work with me. Is that okay? Now, do you see how that gives safety and security to people? It's a Maslow thing. Safety and security. I know what's going to happen to me. I know I'm not going to be pressured into anything. She's going to ask me if I want to work with her. We're only practicing, and I'm not working with her. So it's all done. Right? Okay, so it takes, again, all the pressure off. So you tell them the 5 things you're going to do. Now, when you look at those questions, they're pretty much lined up with what Barbara did with you this morning. Tell me about your family, your job, your hobbies. Some personalities, it's much harder to get them to talk. Some people, you have to ask more questions. You know, are you married? Yes. Oh, this is going to be a short interview. Okay, you need to ask more questions. The person who's asking the questions is getting the information that she needs to help her, tell her. Okay, what do you like best about what you do? What would you change, if anything? What do you need most in your life right now? Where do you see yourselves 5 years from now? Now, let's get real clear. Not everyone you interview should be in Mary Kay. Now, I would dare say that 95% of them would be well served to be in Mary Kay. I believe that everybody would benefit from a year of the training that we get in Mary Kay. And do you all know what the biggest recruiting tool you all have right now? You talk about a carrot to dangle. Robert Jones. Now, Robert Jones is going to sell out probably the first week it hits my website. We can only take, what is it, Karen Benura, 300, 400 in Louisville? 400 in Louisville. Renee, how many in London? 350. And in Indy, I don't know, probably 400. We can sell Robert Jones out in a week. And so right now, I'd be writing fast and furious of all the women that you want to recruit. And if they ever want to see Robert Jones, at least for the next year, they better be making a decision right now. We've recruited a lot of people just to come see a makeup artist. So they need to make a decision very quickly in the next week or 2. I'm just going to tell you this much. I will not put Robert Jones out on the website for another week. I'll give you a week to go sign them all up. Is that fair enough? I'll give you a little playing room here. And you know what? Kim McCullough only ever joined Mary Kay on my team just to go see John Maxwell. She became a sales director. Guys, there are certain women who will just join just to see Robert Jones. And then if they don't do anything more with it, is that okay? Quit getting caught up on everybody you recruit becoming a Cadillac driver, for crying out loud. Do you believe that people would benefit from coming and hanging out with you at Monday Night Mating every now and then? Do you believe that their husbands would benefit from the tax benefits that Pat Happel gives us? We get too caught up. We all do, on what if she were to fail? Well, what if I were to set you up on a blind date and he's a jerk, for crying out loud? It's no big deal. What if I tell you to go see a movie and it's not a good movie that you like? Do you not tell people to go see it? It's not that big of a deal. We offered the opportunity. Do you want a piece of gum? Yes, no. I'll take one and save it for later. It's no big deal. Okay. Now, once you have that information, you really have everything that you need to know so you can take this to the next level, which is to share some facts about the career. And, you tell her about yourself. We've already talked about that. But sometimes, if you're new to recruiting, you have to ask that number 3 question there. If we only had 5 minutes, what would you need to know to make a decision about our career? Now, if you've got a lot of experience with recruiting, you don't necessarily have to ask that question, because I can read that personality and kind of read between the lines of what she's saying to me. But that comes with skill. It comes with a lot of practice. So I'm going to tell you that the vast majority, 99.9% of everybody in this room, needs to ask question 3. If we only had 5 minutes to share some facts about a Mary Kay career, what do you need to know? Now, I want you to go back to your interview tools handout with me. And I'm going to say, if I'm sitting across the table from you and I say, I don't know when I would ever have time to do this. I teach school during the day, I have the volleyball team, I do the cheerleaders, and I wait tables 3 nights a week. Okay, that was my life when I joined Mary Kay. Now, if I said that to you in an interview, what tools would you pull out of your briefcase to work with me on? A weekly plan sheet. Now, in your Something More brochure, are you all familiar with your Something More brochure? There is actually a weekly time study, or time sheet. Do y'all know that? Yes? No? Okay. Now, if that person, would you all agree that you are only going to get 3 objections? I don't have the time, I don't have the money, or my husband won't let me. Would you all agree that that's pretty much 90% of it? Okay, so when her objection is, I'm a busy person, do not disagree with her. You do not win friends and influence people by disagreeing with people. You agree with her. Tell me what you do. And she tells you everything you do. Then you go, you're right. You are one of the busiest people I know. Don't disagree. You always want to be offensive, not defensive. If she says, I'm busy, and you say, well, you couldn't be as busy as I am, then you're in trouble. This interview is over. You might as well shut your briefcase and go home, because now you're picking a fight with her. You're disagreeing with her. You agree with her. You are a busy person. So would you mind share with me what you do on Sunday? And so you go and you write on that little form, what do you do on Sunday? Then you go to Monday. What do you do on Monday? What do you do on Monday night? What do you do on Tuesday? What are you looking for? You're looking for little increments of time where you're showing her that Mary Kay is what you do when you're living your life. Do you know that the vast majority of the women in Mary Kay never hold a class, never hold a facial? Now, they don't necessarily win a car, but they don't hold classes and facials. What do? They do on the go. They go to work. Somebody knows they sell Mary Kay. They get an order. So what I want to do with that objection is show her that all these places she's going with her kids, all these places that she's doing, that if people knew she was doing Mary Kay, I can even take somebody's day. I can take their day. Tell me about your day today. And she tells me everything she did the day. I say, you know what? If you'd been in Mary Kay today, you'd probably come home with $50 just from being in Mary Kay. You want them to start to see that Mary Kay falls on them, that people find them, that people buy from them where they're at church and they're at work and they're with their kids. And so we then take her objection, which is time, is I am so busy, and she tells you all this busy stuff she's doing, which we are all busy, and we make it work for her. Great, you're in church and you do church activities. Look at all the women that we know there. If they knew you were selling Mary Kay, they would probably order some things from you. They would be your customers. Oh, you run your kids to the ball field. Look at the customers there. So that is what I mean by taking an objection and making it the reason why it is the reason they join. Okay, now let's say I'm sitting across the table from you, and I'll say, I don't know, we really need the extra money. How much would I have to work as hard as you do? I mean, could I work a little bit and make money? I don't want to work as hard as you do. I don't want to do what you do. You're gone all the time. Is that what they say? You're gone all the time. They don't know what they're talking about, but you're gone all the time. Okay. What if she says that to you? What tool are you going to pull out? Summaries. Every one of you in your briefcase needs 3 summaries. You need your very best one because you're proud of it. You need one where you did not put forth any effort and people actually called you for reorders. All right? And then you need an average one. There's 3 summaries in your briefcase. So when she says to you, I don't want to work as hard as you do, then you don't pull out your best summary where you had 3 classes that week. You pull out an average summary and say, well, this is an average week. I did 1 appointment. I had 5 reorders. And I did this 1 facial. I spent about 7 hours in my business, and this was my profit. Now, here is what many of you are too dependent on. You think you have to get your people in front of me or your director who makes lots of money to recruit someone. Actually, it can work against you. Some people are much more likely to join Mary Kay if they can see what you're doing, because they know that they can do what you do. They might not know they can do what I do, but they know they can do what you do because they know you. And if you're saying, look, last week I sold $175 by just answering the phone, and half of that was mine, then she's going, dang, I think I could do that. All right? So you want to go home and you want to get your 3 summaries ready, because when that objection comes, you can show her what real people do. Not just big people, but real people. Okay? Real people. All right? If she says, my husband won't let me. Get up and leave? No. I know, Stacey Joe, you would get up and leave. Okay. What do we do with that objection? My husband won't let me. Invite him to the meeting. Somebody else tell me something. All right, you're going to send him home with some literature, and what kind of literature are most men interested in? Okay? But you need to find out if the husband is really the objection. Have you ever used your husband as a scapegoat? Have you ever said, Mom, my husband, I'm sure he's got something planned. Why, he don't have nothing planned. He's never planned nothing in his life. Let's get real here. So we come back to objections with another question. She says, I'd really like to do it. My husband won't let me. And you say, if I met with your husband and I showed him the facts and figures and he decided that this sounded like a good thing, are there any other objections? So, okay, let's make an appointment with your husband, and I'll sit down with him. Right there, you will see whether or not he is the objection. All right? So you say, when she says, I don't have enough time, and you show her these things, and you say, if I could find you 5 hours a week, and in those 5 hours we could bring home a couple $100 extra this week to your family, could you do this? Could you find 5 hours? Always stay on the offense. Always come back with a question. Don't come back with a solution. Come back with the question. All right, now based on what she says that she needs to know is where you're going to go. Will you tell every person you interview about the 5 ways we sell our product? Do you even know what they are? On the go, on paper, online, on the face, whatever. You guys, I've done thousands of interviews. I don't even know if I told anybody that. Have you ever seen Pam Shaw do a guest event? I'll never forget going to Pam Shaw's guest event in Louisville, Kentucky, and I was sitting there with Karen Bates, and I had my notebook, and I was all ready because I wanted to see Pam Shaw do her guest event. I'd never seen her do a guest event. At the end of the night, I didn't have one single note written on my piece of paper because she didn't tell them one figure about the company. They didn't tell one thing about the company. She totally did it through her iStory. It was story after story after story. Nobody even knew, I don't think, how much the kit cost, but they all came out of the audience and bought one. Okay. You're worrying about stuff that has nothing to do with nothing. You're worrying about too many facts. I'm only going to talk to her about what she says on question number 3. If you only have 5 minutes, what do you need to know? End of story. That's all I'm going to talk to her about. Then we come to number 4. Number 4 is hypothetically, if you were to consider doing this, what strengths do you have that would make you good? This is a real critical step in your interview because I want her to tell me. Interesting interview that I had last week. The girl sold, I was telling her about the business, she was backing away. I made one statement, and I'm trying to remember what I said to her about, well, you know, it might not be for you, and immediately I took it away from her, and she began to tell me every reason she'd be great. And I thought, okay, now this is advanced training. This is what we're going to get into with Gloria, and this is what we're going to get into in April. But there is a point you take it away from people. If you feel that they are backing away from you, they're running away from you, and you have found yourself somehow in a defensive selling situation, then take it away and just say, you know what, it probably isn't for you. And that's okay. I still like you. You're still my friend. Whoa. You will see an amazing energy begin to move, and she will begin to sell you on why she can do this. And that's what question number 4 is all about. Let's see what traits that she brings to the table. What can she bring into your team and into the company? Now, the next question you ask her is, with proper training, do you feel that you could learn to do what I do? Because she doesn't know how to be a Mary Kay consultant. Nobody knows how to be a Mary Kay consultant. So with proper training, could you do what I do? Next question. Do you have any questions that I did not answer? And what do you do right here? Put your hand over your mouth. Quit talking. It is now time for her to ask you questions. If you have any eye in your personality, when there's dead silence, you are about to die. You are just like dying because you just don't know what to do, because you know what to do as long as there's chaos and confusion. But when there's like quietness, you don't know what to do, okay? And question number 5 is the most important part of the interview. Some of you have done these awesome classes in facials and forgot to ask them if they wanted to buy the product, right? And then that got too painful, so you decided you probably ought to learn how to do that step. The same way with interviewing. You guys are going to do 8 interviews, and your director is not going to be excited if you don't ask them for a decision. I'm not going to be excited if you don't ask them for a decision. So we're going to practice this out loud. Number 5 is there any reason why you wouldn't want to begin today? I think you all said something different than mine, but anyway. All right, read it out loud again. Okay. I don't even want to know how that happened. Okay. All right. Now, what did we learn today from Barbara? Who will make a decision on the spot? And how many? Okay. How many interviews will an S need?
2.
And will a C make a decision with this interview sheet?
No.
Okay. All right, so we are not going to go out here thinking that everybody is going to say yes. Now, if they say need to, think about it. Okay. When they say I need to think about it, what do you say? You ask a question. Always ask a question. What are you going to think about? Just so that I can make sure that I have covered everything that I should have covered in my interview, would you care to share with me what you're still thinking about? All right? Well, I probably just need to go over these details with my husband. Okay? What kind of questions will he have? Would it be helpful if I met with your husband? See how I keep taking it to another question, to see what the real deal is. Now, would you agree there will come a point in some of your interviews where She just flat out says, I just don't know, I'm scared. Okay, how many of you got to that point? I just don't know. I just wish somebody would make this decision for me. Okay? I'm just scared. All right, that's when you operate out of heart. Not head, heart. And she just says, I don't know, I'm just scared. What if I were to fail? What would people think? And she gets into that whole mindset. Your body language at this point will tell you whether this was acceptable or not, but I would probably reach across the table and I'd put my hands on top of her hands and I'd look at her in the eye. And I'd say, you know what? If you weren't scared, I probably wouldn't want you. And you know what? We were all scared. And anything significant you've ever done with your life, you've been scared. And the worst thing that could happen to you is you could get $150 worth of makeup for $100. So there's really not that much to be scared about. But here's what I promise you. I cannot promise you that you're going to make a ton of money. I can't promise you you're going to win a car. But I can promise you that I will take you step by step when you're ready. And we'll start it together. We'll go to new consultant training, step 1. And then you'll come to meeting, step 2. We'll do a business debut, step 3. I'll take you as far as you are comfortable going step by step. Why don't we just go ahead and fill the agreement out right now? And you guys, when I get that kind of person that's that scared, I fill the agreement out. What is your name? What is your address? Now, you guys, you think I'm kidding. Most agreements I personally have filled out in my life. There is something terrifying about that piece of paper. There is. It's something very scary about that piece of paper. I will say, okay, how do you want to pay for this? And I'll fill it out. I made the decision for her unless she stops me. Do you think you can do that? But you have to do enough of these to know when you can do that, when you can come to that point. But see, there was nothing for her to think about. There was no other steps to take. There's not another tape for her to listen to. There's not another video. We're just scared. And if you're scared, it's no big deal. We'll just take it to the next step. All right? Any questions? All right. Well, you know what to do. You have the sheet to do it. And a great deal of your homework is based on that. Thank you all very much.